You invest in another program. It feels aligned, it feels promising, you feel hopeful again. This is it. This will finally shift everything. For a few days, maybe weeks, there's momentum. You show up more, you apply what you learn, you feel energized, committed, certain that this time it's different. Then the results don't stabilize. The clients, if it was that kind of program, don't come the way you expected, or the manifestation, whatever you desired, you expected that now this is going to unfold, that now you're going to attract, that now it's going to finally show up, the income, the money, the stability, the freedom, the love doesn't match the effort. The same quiet tension returns, and or the nothing, or the waiting is still there, and suddenly the thoughts begin again. Maybe I didn't apply properly. Maybe I need to go deeper. Maybe I am the problem. Something is wrong with me. Or the opposite. Maybe they overpromised. Maybe I trusted the wrong person again. Maybe no one really understands what I am trying to do here, or what I am going through, my situation. You swing between responsibility and disappointment, commitment, between blaming yourself and feeling let down, between pushing harder and collapsing into exhaustion. Oh my God, how many times I did that. Over time, this creates a very specific emotional pattern: hope, effort, partial movement, then drop. Then the search begins again. Another tool, another method, another system, another guru, teacher, coach that finally promises stability, relief, certainty, freedom, joy, flow, manifestation that really sticks forever. And each time, it genuinely makes sense in the moment. You are not randomly jumping from thing to thing. You are responding to real discomfort, a real desire to finally stabilize what you know is possible for you. Because you feel this is real. And that's why it's so annoying. And welcome or welcome back to the Mirror podcast. In the previous episodes actually, we looked at how daily triggers expose the story behind our triggers, behind our lives, but the story being lived from. And now we are going one layer deeper. Why the reactions to those triggers can feel so intense, so urgent, so personal. Because what is actually being challenged in those moments is not just your plan or your method, your path. It is the identity that has quietly formed around the story. If the premise has been, I'm the one who has to work harder, invest more, prove this path works, then every unmet promise, every unstable result, every delay doesn't feel neutral. It feels like a threat to who you are and to the life you built meaning around. So, of course, your system reacts strongly. You defend the path, you defend your decisions, you defend your vision, or you turn the defense inward and try to fix yourself again, thinking if you just adjust one more thing, everything will finally settle. From the inside, this looks like dedication, commitment to your spiritual path, to your self development, self improvement, self-concept, perseverance, like refusing to give up. I'm committed. I'm serious here. And there is truth in that. That desire is real. The commitment is real. Oh my God, like I've been there for 2 decades. But underneath, something more subtle is happening. The identity is fighting for its survival. I mean, my identity started out with being the seeker. And then the more deeper I went, became the healer. And the higher I went, became the channeler. And then higher I went, became the master manifester. Always in becoming. Not consciously, obviously, but kind of automatically. If the story says, this is who I am, this is my path, this is how my life will finally work, then any evidence that contradicts it feels deeply personal. The nervous system moves quickly to restore certainty by, of course, working harder, investing again, explaining more, finding the next promise of relief. I mean, this is how I was able to stay in this world and basically go from America to India to every workshop that I possibly could find, every retreat, every program, every workshops in countries, online, you name it. And this is not weakness. It is not lack of alignment. It is a system protecting the role it has lived as me for a very long time. I want to share a very concrete example from our own life because it took me many years to see this clearly. I mean, I'm to see actually the different layers of it clearly. And this is going to be about an illness because that's very, very practical to see. So years ago, I was identified as the person with this illness. It was described as chronic. I went from doctor to healer, from specialist to specialist, both Western and alternative. Everyone concluded the same thing. Yes, I see you have this condition. Let's try this treatment and see what happens. For 3 years, I lived inside that identity. Some days were better, some, well, worse. But the premise stayed the same. I am ill and I am searching for a solution. That's who I am. One day, I was sitting in a doctor's waiting room again, reading a book. It said something very simple. You can change your reality right here, right now, by deciding who you are and knowing it is already so. Something about that line didn't motivate me. It created a pause. For a moment, there was no effort, no analyzing, no trying to fix anything, just a very quiet clarity where I wasn't fully identified with the role anymore. So I closed the book and silently said, I'm so done with this shit. I'm perfectly healthy now. There was no fireworks. I didn't have to convince myself. I didn't even have a second thought. Just, I think, a clean decision that felt obvious in that pause, and it came from years of exhaustion. The moment I stood up from the chair, I knew I was healthy. I walked into the office, listened to the doctor's comments, but it genuinely felt like he was talking about someone else. The words no longer landed as me. I took the prescription, left the office, and threw it in the bin on the way home. I cleared my house of everything that reminded me of my old self, my old symptoms of the role I had been living from. and the system and the symptoms were gone permanently. And what changed in that moment was not a treatment, not a method, not more effort, whether actual 3D or trying to heal the cause behind the symptoms. It was the identity. Before it was, I'm ill and looking for a solution. So, of course, life was reflecting that. But in that pause, without identification, the decision, I am healthy, felt natural, final, and unquestioned. I'm not sharing this as something to copy or try to force and keep, deciding, declaring. Because even that I've done afterwards many times and it didn't work because I just didn't get what was the difference. I'm sharing it because it showed me that one moment of clear seeing, one pause where you are no longer fully inside the story, can be enough to exit it, enough to decide, enough to change the position you are living from. In everyday life, these pauses don't always look dramatic. They can be small moments of clarity. Just you notice the reaction starting, the thoughts forming, the urge to fix or prove rising. And for a second, you see, wow, okay, this is the identity trying to secure its story. That second of awareness doesn't remove the situation, but it loosens the automatic fusion between the reaction and who you are. And that's the small gap from where you can exit, where you actually have freedom. And this is also why the mirror that I created, not just as this podcast, but as a private space and guide container, is designed to help you recognize these moments or create these moments of de-identification in real time. So this pause becomes more available, these exits doors become seen. So you don't fight the story, you don't suppress emotions. On contrary, you are allowing them without identification. You are allowing them. It's like, okay, there we go again. Seeing it clearly enough that you are no longer completely inside of it. And when the identity no longer has to fight for survival in every trigger, something softens. Effort becomes cleaner, decisions become less reactive, and the constant cycle of hope, push, collapse, and search begins to lose its grip. And one more sentence before I conclude this episode. What is on the other side? Because I believe you really want to know. Experience, reality reflects identity. So thoughts come from identity, emotions come from identity, action comes from identity. They are all manifestations of identity. That's why you don't need to change thoughts. You don't need to do anything with emotions. You don't need to clear anything. You just change identification, and everything else follows naturally. So, as in the story, you change. I am ill, trying to find a solution to get healed or be healed or healthy, is I am healthy. That identity automatically starts being reflected in your body, which is also a manifestation of who you are. And the entire 3D around you is a manifestation of who you are, and it's not fixed. It's constantly changing, constantly reflecting who you say you are. If this resonates, you are warmly invited to listen to the free audio on my page I created that helps you slowing down a bit. It's about 20 minutes. It's called Why Nothing Changes Even When You Do Everything Right. And you can, especially in these cycles of hope, effort, disappointment, it gently guides you to notice them. And I would really love to hear your experience. Like, have you noticed these patterns of hope and effort and willpower, and then burnout, collapse, bringing yourself together, phoenix type of, coming out of ashes, renewed motivation out of this deep hurt and pain, and then soaring again, renewed search for the next thing that must be the solution. I mean, I've done this for 15 years, so yeah, I know exactly how that feels like. Share in the comments, and I'm going to come back to each and respond to each of your comments. And if you think this episode can help someone, you can share with them. And if you want to continue exploring these reflections together, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay with the Mirror podcast. All the links are in the description box for you to explore. Thank you. And I see you in the next episode.